Dickey Betts' instrumental masterpiece, In Memory of Elizabeth Reed, was written about a girl in which Betts was having an affair with at the time. She was involved with a friend of his, so he couldn't use her name, and they used to rendezvous at a graveyard in which Betts wrote most of the music at that time. He said he looked over, and at a gravestone close to where he was sitting, he saw the words, In Memory of Elizabeth Reed. Alright, so the song opens with a chord progression, which is the basis of the entire song, and the chord progression itself is in the key of A Dorian, though when Betts would solo, he was really fascinated with mixing different minor modes, which we'll talk about later. But the chord progression goes like this. Alright, so what we have there is we start with an A minor 9. Actually, on the guitar, it is the voicing of a C major 7. We have the C, E, G, and B, but the bass is playing so it's the tonic is A. So over in A, we have the C major 7, and that becomes an A minor 9. Then we have, so that's 10 on the D string, 9 on the G string, 8 on the B string, and 7 on the high E string. Then we go to the 5th frets of the 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st strings, and that is our A minor 7. Then we go back to our A minor 9 or C major 7 voicing. Then we play the 7th frets of the 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st strings. And so now the bass is playing a D root. So although that looks like a B minor 7, with the D in the bass, we have D6. So that's A minor 9 to A minor 7. A minor 9 to D6. Alright, so on live versions, Betts will solo for quite a while over that part. And then when the head comes in, we're going to first take a look at Dickey Betts' part. So Dickey plays this in 5th position, and we have Alright, so this is played out of an E form A minor pentatonic scale. Alright, so we start with quarter note triplets with rest on the first beat of it. And just a note about all these rhythms, the song is more about feel instead of being precise. So it might not all be mathematically or metrically correct, but it's more about feel and locking in with the other musicians. So we have again. And then the next phrase goes like this. So we bend that 7th fret of the B string up a half step. Release it. On the album version and the Fillmore version, Betts would play this next part like this. In later years, he liked to add this D, so we would have. And another thing to notice, in earlier years, that would be staccato like that. We'd have. But in later years, Betts would hold some of those notes out. Alright, so this is part of the first theme, and once you have that down, you have the majority of the first theme. So let me take that from the top. We have. So another thing to notice about that is that Dickey would play that part straight. And what I mean by that is he wouldn't do a lot of articulations. So not a lot of sliding into it, not a lot of hammer-ons and pull-offs, just basically. However, later on he did do some fills, which I will talk about in a moment. Alright, so then that repeats. We play that again, and then we play it a third time. Alright, the third time through, when we get to. That's where it changes up, and it leads into the second theme. Alright, this is what we have. And then that leads into the second theme. Alright, so let's take a look at that. The very first is the same as it always is. But then we have. Alright, so there we have a diminished arpeggio. So on the fourth string or D string we have 7 to 10. On the G string we have 8. On the B string we have 7 to 10. And then on the high E string we have 8 to 11. Then back to 8. And then 5. So that puts Dickey in position for the second theme. And the second theme, it's got a double time feel and it sounds like this. Alright, so right there in fifth position. Then we take that up a minor third to C minor, so we're now in 8th position, and we play. And then we go back down to 5th position, A minor. So all that's the same, but when you get up to the C minor, we play. Dickey will bend that E up a whole step. And then we have this phrase that leads into the solo section. So we slide into the 5th fret of the B string, then 4th fret of the B string, then we have 7, 5, 4 on the G string, 6 on the D string, and then 7 on the D string, followed by an E7 sharp 9 chord, which is the 7th fret on the A string, 6th fret on the D string, 7th fret on the G string, then we have our pinky on the 8th fret of the B string. Alright, that brings us up to the first guitar solo. Back in the day with Duane, Dickey used to take the first guitar solo. Check out the album version and at Fillmore East. But then later, post Duane, he would take a really long intro solo, so the second guitarist would often take the first solo. After the first solo, the soloist would start to play a phrase and the rest of the band would come in and it would sound like this. And that signaled the end of the solo. So what we have there is we have that flat 5, and then the organ solo. Then we have the second guitar solo. Alright, after the second guitar solo, the soloist would start to play the phrase similar to the first time, but this time it goes like this. The first 2 times is exactly the same as after the first guitar solo. Then we repeat that. Then we have and then it takes us to a drum solo. Alright, after the drum solo, we go back to the second theme, which sounds like this. The interlude. Alright, and then to end the song we have So now we're going to take a look at the second guitar part. So this is Duane's part from the album version and at Fillmore East. But I'm also going to talk about some later harmony parts that Duane did not play that were played in later years. But the basis of this is going to be Duane's part. Alright, whereas Dickey plays the melody out of 5th position, out of that E form pentatonic shape. Duane plays it up here in 8th position. Duane added a lot of articulations, slides, and hammer-ons. pull-offs, and then bend. Alright, so this is the same rhythm as Dickey's part, and same notes. It's just played differently. So we have... See, I love that because where Dickey's playing... Duane's bending those notes. And then where Dickey bends, Duane plays it straight. Then we have, or in later years, same as Dickey's part, but more articulation. So like slides, hammer-ons. Or then we have same as the first time. Alright, then the third time, Duane would add a bend in there. And Dickey would do that too, but he would bend with the first finger. Alright, then the third time through, Duane would add a harmony part, which sounds like this. So that's just like the part Dickey plays, same notes. But then when we get to the diminished arpeggio, Dickey would start on the 7th fret of the D string, starting on the A. But Duane would come up here and start on the 10th fret of the D string, starting on the C. So we have D string, 10th fret, G string, 8, 11, B string, 10th. Then we have the high E string, 8th, 11th, 14th, 11th, 8th. Alright, then we get to the second theme, where Dickey's playing. Duane plays. Alright, then we take that up a minor third to 8th position, C minor, and we have... Then Duane's part is... So we have... Alright, in later years, instead of Duane's harmony part, this could be played, which is... Alright, and then the ending, when Dickey plays, you could also play. And then lastly, I wanted to talk about some of the fills that Dickey would do. So in later years, when he would play the melody, he liked that fill a lot. He liked this one. And another thing he was fond of was playing these harmonics. Alright, so those are all the parts you need to play in memory of Elizabeth Reed. Next time, we will talk guitar solos. Alright, I'll see you next time. Have fun.